It looks like I do have polyhydramnios and we're doing a C-section tonight.
What does mommy have?
Hey, baby.
Hi, baby. He's gonna just take her.
Now we're here. I ended up having a C-section, and in today's video, I'm going to share that story with you.
Take it real soon. You know we got what you need, baby. So take it, move along. I said we got what you need, honey. Come and groove along.
Hey guys, welcome back to Mama Duvet. I'm Shelby and I make videos all about... Didn't you hear me do this throughout my whole pregnancy with you? Oh, you smell good. Now the dog is barking. I swear, this is the story of my life right now. Hey guys, welcome back to Mama Duvet. I'm Shelby and I make videos all about motherhood. And if you're new here, I am a stay-at-home mom. I have a 2.5-year-old little boy and I have yet to introduce you to my daughter, who is now actually 17 days old. Normally she takes like a 2-hour long nap first thing in the morning. We're trying to get her on a schedule. I use the Moms on Call book to try to get the baby on a schedule. And it doesn't work every day. So it's not time for her to nurse right now, but this is what she wants to do. And if you've ever had a newborn, you know, you might as well just do it. So anyway, I wanted to pick up where I left off with you guys, and that was right before my 38-week doctor's appointment. I gave you an update on my pregnancy, and I told you that I wasn't sure what was going to happen at that appointment. The doctor was kind of like monitoring me for extra fluid, and I knew that it was a possibility that I might have a C-section that day. I was also contemplating the idea of doing a VBAC, and I was kind of up in the air with it, and honestly I had decided that if there were no risks involved, then I would go for the VBAC, especially if I went into labor on my own and all of that. Up until I filmed that last video, my 38-week update, I was pretty set on the idea that I was going to have a C-section. Towards the end, I started thinking, hey, why would I do that if I could have a vaginal delivery? Now we're here. I ended up having a C-section, and in today's video, I'm going to share that story with you. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you that if you are not part of my community already, if you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up so other people can find it in the algorithm. So on Wednesday, July 6th, I went in for another ultrasound, and this was 2 weeks after my previous ultrasound, which showed that I had high levels of amniotic fluid, but it wasn't risky at all. So I had like 20, and I think the cutoff was 25 centimeters of amniotic fluid measured at the ultrasound. During the ultrasound, the tech was very positive. She was pretty quick and gave me no warning signs that there really was high levels. In the meantime, my husband was home from work and he was watching my son. And that whole morning we had spent the day cleaning the beds so that if I ended up going in for a C-section, the beds would be clean for whoever was staying here with my son. And we like finished a bunch of random things that we needed to do before she came. So my husband like hung up the mirror in her room, and we vacuumed and cleaned the floors and just did a bunch of random things that we had been putting off. And during my appointment was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Lucas was taking a nap, and Robert was supposed to be packing his hospital bag because that was like the final thing that had to be done before the C-section. However, my husband did not think that it was going to happen that day, so instead of doing that, he took a nap. And I had this ultrasound, didn't have any warning signs, and was waiting for my appointment with the doctor for probably like 45 minutes. And because it was taking a while, for the doctor to call me back, I just kind of thought for sure the C-section wasn't going to happen that day. So I ended up texting my husband along with my brother, who was waiting to hear how everything was going. So because it was taking so long between my ultrasound and getting called back to see the doctor, I went ahead and texted my husband and brother, who were in a group chat with me, to let them know that I didn't think it was probably going to happen that day, but I would let them know once I saw the doctor. And I did that because Cody, my brother, was supposed to drive from work probably about an hour away to get here to watch my son so that Robert could leave. Good work. So that Robert could leave and come be with me. So yeah, finally I get called back. So what the doctor ended up saying is that I was right at the cusp of polyhydramnios, and that we could go ahead and move forward with the C-section that day. I was 1 week away from what was already scheduled, but he was like, I can still do it this afternoon. And I knew that since it was a possibility, we were basically ready, and baby was looking good and healthy and ready. So we went ahead with the C-section. So my doctor told me to head on over to labor and delivery. Luckily, my doctor's office is connected to the hospital. So my doctor ended up sending me over to go ahead and get checked in, and my husband was just supposed to come and meet me. So I texted the group right after I had just told them I didn't think. Right after I had just told them that I didn't think it was happening that day, that actually it was happening. And both my brother and my husband thought I was joking with them. I wasn't, and I was like, come on, please head on to my house, Cody, and Robert, get your bag together so that you can come be with me. Anyway, it was kind of a shock for my husband. It took him a little bit to be prepared, even though I thought he was already prepared. I also ended up calling my mom, who lives 2 hours away, and let her know that it was happening so she could start heading down. And yeah, all of a sudden our plans kind of changed, even though it was kind of expected. It's just this really weird feeling. I got very nervous. I think the nurse actually ended up telling me that my blood pressure was a little bit high, which is normally not the case. Normally I have kind of low blood pressure, and I think it was just because I was nervous and because I was worried about my husband not being there. Anyway, once I got over my nerves and knew that everybody was taken care of, my son was going to be taken care of, and that my husband was going to get there, I started to calm down. And basically what happened, this is the whole, I'm going to go through the C-section and my perspective of it and how my experience was. This was my second C-section, and it's funny because I feel like I had a very different experience from my first. There were things that I noticed this time that I didn't notice last time, even though I had watched a ton of videos to prepare myself and know what to expect as far as the epidural and all of those things. So I'm going to go into all of that as I tell my story. So what happened is I was taken back to a room to basically prep. And I got over there probably around 4 o'clock, and I ended up having her, she was out of my belly at 8 p.m. on the dot. So I got checked in around 4 o'clock, and as soon as I got to the room, they had me go change into a hospital gown. And when I did that, they also gave me these sanitizing wipes. They asked me to wipe down my body, not my boobs, and nothing downstairs. But I needed to clean like my belly and just basically my whole midsection really well with these sanitizing wipes, and I was supposed to wipe down twice. So I did that, and then when I came out, they had me lay down in the bed, and then they hooked up the monitor so that they could hear her heartbeat and all of that. So anyway, I was hooked up to all of that. I ended up getting my IV put in. The IV, of course, just like last time, they weren't able to get it the first time, so they ended up having to do it twice. I still have a bruise. It's been, I think, what did I say, 17 days? And I still have a bruise from the first one. The second one, it's healed for the most part. But I got the IV, and they started giving me fluids. So luckily, the doctor had told me not to eat lunch that day, and so I had eaten at 9:30 in the morning, but I had not eaten since then. They told me that they needed at least like 6 more, they wanted more like 8 hours between me eating and drinking anything. So basically I was totally fine with the fact that I had eaten breakfast that day. I had drank quite a bit of water though, because I just do that. Speaking of, this was my push present from my husband. It is not the Stanley Cup, because for the life of me, I cannot seem to catch it when they finally restock them, but this one's great. I love this one. So I got my IV. They also gave me, I want to say Pepsid. It's just like standard what they give someone before surgery. And I had one nurse, and I was, connecting with her and trying to get to know her, because I remembered with my first C-section that nurse that took care of me and got me checked in was there, like when I got my epidural and everything, and there's just something about that. It's very comforting knowing that that person's been with you. However, I found out later that that same nurse was not going to be there for the C-section because shift change happened at 7 o'clock, and so they were going to push the C-section after that so that it didn't go into the shift change. My husband got there around, like right before 5 o'clock, because originally they said that they were trying to do it at 5:30, and I was like, hey, please get here before 5 o'clock. And the first thing the nurse asked him after they decided it was going to be a little bit later was if he had eaten dinner, and they were like, you need to make sure you have food in your stomach, because they didn't want him passing out. So he got there, and then he ended up leaving and going to get some food for himself. So I'm going to fast forward until we're right before we go to the room. I will say that I did meet the anesthesiologist. He came in the room and shook my hand and introduced himself and told me that his anesthetist, I guess there's 2 different types of anesthesiologists, would be the one that stayed with me in the room. He would be the one putting in the epidural, but she would be the one making sure I had whatever medication I needed to feel comfortable during the C-section. So once my husband was back from getting food, he was asked to put on his outfit. So basically he had like this whole suit to cover up his clothes, and so that he was nice and clean. Here's a picture of him in that. We got a picture for both C-sections of him in this outfit. So, ooh, you scratch your little cheek. And then what they did is they asked me if I could walk, which I could because I wasn't like in labor or anything. And we walked down to the operating room where my husband was asked to wait outside. And I was brought into the operating room, and probably within just like 2 or 3 minutes, the anesthesiologist came in to do my epidural. So I sat down on the bed, and they give you a pillow to hug, and you just kind of bend forward as much as you can so that your spine is nice and in view. And the anesthesiologist did the epidural. It just felt like a pinch, to be completely honest. It's not horrible. I do feel like he took a little bit longer to place it, if that makes sense. Like the initial pinch happened, and then there was some time before he actually put the medicine in. And then they want you to lay down like as soon as possible after they give you the medicine so that they're not having to like move you. So I laid down and they adjusted me and all of that. The difference this time as opposed to last time is this time I really felt the medicine like wash over me. It was like a warm, tingly feeling, and I felt it go through my feet and everything, and it was like really tingly. And last time I feel like it was super quick. I was suddenly numb. I don't remember it happening so smooth. I don't know. It just didn't happen the same way over my body. And I kept like overthinking I kept thinking about like, oh gosh, can I still feel my body? Like I could feel them cleaning me and touching me, like just pressure of them doing that. So I was kind of worried that I could like really feel too much. But the anesthetist that stayed with me, she was right there. Anything I said to anybody, she could hear me and she was responding as well. So I felt very taken care of by her. And I do feel like after they put the epidural in, I waited a little bit longer this time for the doctor to get there and everything, and for them to set up. They gave me some warm blankets to cover me up, and also I did not have my arm strapped down. I hear that a lot, that you do have your arm strapped down, but mine were free. They were just on these boards, and I was supposed to keep them out, so I did. But maybe 10 minutes after I got the epidural, I saw my doctor. He came in and he said hello to me, and they put the curtain up, and I knew they were about to get started. I also had told the anesthetist that the last time I got really sick afterwards, and you know, if there was anything she could do to help me with that, I was like, could you? So I don't know if she gave me any extra medicine or not, but, and then they called my husband in, and he came in and he was like, hey, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Are you? And he was like, yeah. And he stood up and watched. And I will say this time I absolutely noticed the smell of the hot knife cutting a lot more than I did the first time around. And I mention that because the first time around I was told I would smell that smell and I didn't. This time it was very strong. So another thing that I wanted to mention is that, you know, since I had extra fluid, and this time she wasn't as big as Lucas, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, but she wasn't nearly as big as Lucas. And she had been known to move right up into my ribs the second I laid down. And even though I had the epidural, I swear I felt her move right up into my ribs right before they started. So I was like, guys, I think she's in my ribs. Well, when they were actually doing it and they got in there to get her out, lo and behold, she was up in my ribs, and they were having a lot of trouble getting her out. One thing that they do is they push on the top of your stomach, like the bottom of your ribs basically, to push the baby down to come out. And they did that for a while. The nurse, actually, whoever was doing that actually apologized to me. She was like, I'm sorry, I know this is a lot of pressure. Granted, it was not nearly as much pressure as it was when they were getting Lucas out. And they were like, she is way up in your ribs. You were right about that. So they ended up actually having to use a little vacuum to get her out. Obviously that made me a little bit nervous, but everything was fine. And once she came out, which my husband got some pictures of, yeah, once they got her out, she immediately started screaming and crying, but it was this sweet little newborn sound, very different than when my son was born. And I keep saying that. I had a toddler the first time around. So that happened, and the C-section itself was pretty quick. It didn't take too long. I feel like the longest part was the fact that they couldn't get her out, so they had to use the vacuum, and that took a little bit of extra time. And then I had asked specifically to see the baby right away because I didn't get that option with Lucas. Even though he was crying, I didn't get to see him until my husband had him and brought him over to me. So the doctor immediately lifted her up so I could see her. Yeah, the doctor immediately lifted her up so I could see her. And are you smiling now? So this is Charlie Aria. She's a little bit grumpy today, aren't you? Aren't you? Are you grumpy today? I don't know why. I suspect gas in your tummy. You have a gassy tummy. So this beautiful little bow that makes her look so cute. We don't wear these very often because these are actually a little bit small. We only wear them for photo shoots, which we haven't really had. But this is Charlie Aria. My little toes. She's got a little bit of peeling skin happening right now. But really, her complexion is pretty good. There's not a lot of baby acne or anything. All right, let me get through this. I'm gonna take this off your little head. Okay, so the doctor showed her to me right away, lifted her up over the curtain, and then the nurse actually grabbed her and brought her over. I'm gonna nurse her again. To show me before they took her over to like weigh her and clean her off and all that stuff. So I hear about C-sections where moms get to do skin to skin right away, where they leave enough room between the curtain and her chest so that she can actually do that. But at this hospital, it's not really an option. They just wait until you're in the recovery room. So I had told my husband that I really wanted him to go over to her, that if I was fine, just go. You know, even if I wasn't fine, I wanted him to be with her. So he went right over there. I got some adorable little pictures of him just admiring her and like holding her hand and rubbing her head. He did really great with that. And then after they weighed her and got her ready, they finally handed her to him. And he held her while I was getting stitched up the rest of the way. And after all of that was done, which took a while, my doctor said that he cut out the old scar tissue so that it was just one scar. It took a little bit longer to do that. And my husband was holding her during that. So it was different. He got her right away. I don't think he actually got to hold her that long, or hold Lucas that long. I feel like he did, and then maybe they brought him to the recovery room and met Robert over there. I can't remember. It's a little bit vague, but I don't remember him being with me on the elevator ride back to the recovery room the first time. But this time he was holding her, and I was there on the bed and being wheeled back to the elevator and the recovery room. Oh, I should mention how I felt after. So while I was being stitched up, I was given morphine and the epidural and everything. And all of that medicine makes you really shaky, and it makes you kind of want to like grind your teeth. Like you feel very tight in your jaw and your hands, and it was a pretty uncomfortable feeling. I feel really cold. So I was shaking, and my husband kept asking me if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just, I knew it was just a symptom. So that's something to know in case you are going for a C-section as well. But yeah, once we got back to the recovery room and baby was given to me, I like adjusted myself so I was sitting in a more comfortable position. You can't feel your legs, and that is so bizarre. Like you just kind of want to like bring your knees up, and you can't even do that. You can't move your toes. My toes were like against the bar. It looked uncomfortable, and I was like, hey Robert, can you move my feet? Because I couldn't even wiggle my toes. But baby was put on my chest, and this time I didn't like wait to try to nurse. For some reason the first time around I didn't realize that I could just do it myself. I felt like I needed someone to tell me it was time to, and this time I knew better. So immediately I tried to get her to latch, and she did. She latched and probably ate for 30 to 40 minutes in the recovery room. Obviously she didn't get very much because it's just colostrum at that point, but she did nurse and had no trouble latching or anything. And that was our recovery. After probably 45 minutes, probably like 9:15, because she was out of my stomach at 8 o'clock. And then I was back in the recovery room around 8:40. And so around 9:30, I was taken to the mother-baby area. And my mom brought food, and I did not eat anything because I felt sick. So this time I only got sick one time, and that was that. I was able to nibble on crackers and not get sick. So that was really nice. Very different than the first time where I was sick for like 8+ hours. And that night I did a ton of nursing and maybe slept for 2.5 hours when she slept, and she didn't sleep until, or she slept a lot, but she didn't sleep straight through until about 4:30 in the morning. So we got about 2 hours of sleep, and that was our first night. Some of the testing that they did that first night was they were testing her bilirubin. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but she was at risk for jaundice because I have negative blood and she has positive blood. And for some reason, when that happens, even though I got like the RhoGAM shot that you're supposed to get when you have negative blood, and your spouse has positive blood, or whoever your baby daddy is might have positive blood, for some reason they're still at a higher risk for jaundice. So they tested her blood, and I think they had to give her some other kind of medication because of the difference in our blood types. But overall, they kind of left her alone. They did have to prick her feet a couple of times, but that was also different for Lucas. On his first night, they had to prick his foot like right before he ate every single time because they were worried about his blood sugar. So Charlie, Aria, was 7 pounds, 8 ounces. They told me that she was 20 inches long at birth, and she was pink and healthy and just a happy little newborn baby. And that just made my heart very happy. I finally have a baby who's tiny, and I loved having Lucas, my big burly boy, but it's totally different having a little newborn. She's actually 17 days old and still in newborn diapers. We've had to buy some actually. Lucas was straight into size 1 diapers, and all of the cute little newborn clothes that I had were basically too small from the get-go. So that is all I'm going to share with you in today's video. But stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and just wish me luck because it's been really hard for me to film with people around so much and with a toddler, even though my husband is home to help with him. It's just been hard to like figure out the logistics, and also recovering from a C-section has been a little bit more difficult this time around than it was last time. So it's just all of the little details are a little bit more difficult to manage. If you do have any questions about how the C-section went, or anything that I left out that you're curious about, or anything like that, please leave a comment below in the comment section. I will be sure to answer those questions in my next video if you ask them before I post that next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Oh, she's so cute.
A good cookie.
Hey, buddy.
Cookie.
I tried to give him a Big Brother sticker, but he didn't want it.
Lucas, can you come up here and sit with Mommy?
Yeah.
What does Mommy have?
Hey, baby.
Hi, baby.
It's baby
Charlie, look. What's that? It's Charlie. Oh.
She came out of Mommy's tummy.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I love you, baby.
Oh, I love you, baby. Oh, look at that sticker.
He doesn't like it.
Big boy sticker.
If you don't want it, you don't have to have it.
I guess I'm the big brother.
Can Mama have a kiss?
Yeah.
You excited to see Mama and the baby?
Yeah.
Baby.
The baby's outside Mommy's tummy now. How cool is
Hey,
that?
baby.
That's my family. Aww. That's my family.
Hey,
He's gonna just take her.
Hold on.
Just be very gentle. Arm over here.
Hey, baby.
Oh,
Hey, baby.
goodness.
Hey, baby.
Oh, that's your baby, Lucas. That's your baby.
Want to give her a kiss?
Give her a kiss right here on her head.
Oh,
That's very
that's
sweet.
your
Looky, look at that.
baby.
Yeah.
Looky, look at that.
Yeah.
Hey. Can you believe she's here finally?
She's not mommy's tummy no more. Now
Yeah.
she's right here.
Yeah, my belly's gonna get smaller again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take out her passy.
Yes.
See her little mouth?
She might cry a little bit, but we'll see, okay?
Look at her little tiny mouth, Lukey. And her little
Hey,
tiny
baby.
nose.
Hey, baby Charlie.
Hey, baby.
Aww. She loves you.
I'm holding the baby. I can cuddle.
You're such a big brother now.
Can you smile? Hey, smile. Look over here. Say cheese.
See?
That's sweet.
Do you want to see her fingers?
Yeah.
Oh,